Hey everybody, welcome to Robin, Everyone Loves the Drake comic podcast. I'm going to give a little bonus here since I was spending a lot of time reading the Batman Year 3 and the beginnings of Dick Grayson. I wanted to go back and look at some of the Dick Grayson origin stories, and now today I'm going to give you my favorite all-time Dick Grayson origin story. So can you guess what it is? Alright, it is not Batman Year 3. Even though I do like it, but it has its weaknesses. It is not Detective Comics number 38, the first appearance of Dick Grayson, although I do have a healthy respect for the classics and love that issue. It is not Batman the Animated Series, Robin's Reckoning, although I thought a lot of people might have been guessing that. But it is from an animated series, and that animated series is The Batman. And that's right, Season 4, Episode 1. Alright, called A Matter of Family of The Batman. That is my all-time favorite telling of the Dick Grayson story. And now, Robin's Reckoning is awesome. I'm not putting that episode down. That is fantastic. And in fact, I did a podcast commentary for it, which I'll leave in the links there if you want to listen to that while you watch it. But Matter of Family, I think it, borrows heavily from stuff. It borrows heavily from 38. It borrows heavily from Robin's Reckoning. But it just puts its own awesome spin on it, and I just love the storytelling of it. And I think this episode is just as good as any episode of any animated series ever. I'd hold it up to shows I love like the Clone Wars and Batman the Animated Series and Young Justice and the Green Lantern Animated Series. This holds its place right there. Now, The Batman gets dismissed a lot, I think, because, and I did not like this when it first came out. I would love Batman the Animated Series, and when I first saw this and knew that they were canceling the animated series for this, I did not like this. I was annoyed, and when I first started watching it and seeing how they really changed the designs on some of the villains, like the Joker and Catwoman, I didn't want any part of it. But eventually I started watching it because it is Batman, and I grew to kind of like it. And then Season 4, when Robin comes in, and Season 5, when they do the Justice League, I just absolutely loved. And then I went back and gave Seasons 1 through 3 another look and kind of grew to enjoy them too. I kind of like them. But Matter of Family, it's so good. First of all, there's a lot of flying Graysons in this, and I just love anything flying Graysons. If I see flying Graysons, I think it's just fantastic. And one of my favorite flying Graysons, anything to come out of comics, was the Flashpoint series. They did the 3-issue Deadman and the Flying Graysons, and these were awesome. I plan on doing a review of these 3 books fairly soon, and man, I just love how the covers look like old circus posters. So just great. And the Flying Graysons are alive and well in this series, so it's kind of cool to see Dick Grayson, who is older, interacting with his parents. Now, first off, Matter of Family, I knew right away it was going to be awesome because the voice of Dick Grayson's father, I think John Grayson, is none other than Batman himself, Kevin Conroy. So just that nod to the old animated series that they're doing there, and hearing his voice, it's just awesome. And what I like about this is it gives you some time to get to know the Flying Graysons. Now, it's been shown in other stories, especially Batman Forever, where Dick Grayson had brothers and sisters, and this Dick Grayson is an only child. But you really get to know and like the Graysons, which makes it that much rougher when they die. Now, I'm going to give some spoilers, so I would suggest just stop, go watch the video. I'll put a link to it down there. Come back after you got the DVD or watch the video. But spoilers. So it starts off, and I like it because there's no Haley. There's no Mr. Haley. A lot of times the Graysons are kind of like innocent bystanders of this feud between Tony Zuko and Mr. Haley. Haley's not in it at all. In fact, they don't even really mention Haley's circus, although the circus symbol is an H, so those in the know, oh, that's Haley's circus. But it starts off where Tony Zuko is kind of threatening the Graysons. And Tony Zuko in this, he is menacing. If I watched this as a little kid, I'd be scared of him. They've got him 2 different color eyes, comes out of the shadows. He's really like formidable. And he's threatening the Graysons with his family. And then Batman comes in, and of course Dick is just impressed like you wouldn't believe about seeing the Batman. And I think, you know, one of the things I caught too that I said, oh, they have a lot of respect for what came before them was in the opening credits, you know, you'll see Robin and he jumps through a banner just like Detective 38, and they show Robin, you know, showing some of his acrobatic skills, showing why Batman would, you know, recruit him, and that he just wasn't just some kid. He was a skilled acrobat, one of the world-class athletes. Now, one of the things I like too is they have the inspiration for the Robin costume comes from the costume that Dick Grayson wears in the acrobatics act, but you know, anyone looks at it and says, hey, wait a minute, you know, how come no one ever figured out that the Flying Graysons wore the same costume as Robin or as Nightwing in some of the comics? But in this one they do it pretty good, is in that it's a brand new costume that he's going to wear for the first time, and it's covered up, and he's about to, like, you know, take it off and unveil it to everybody, but unfortunately his parents die before that. And he's got the R on his thing. I'm like, R? But then his mom says it's for Richard. So, aha, Richard. I'm always just calling him Dick, but he is Richard Grayson. But she says, because he's like a Robin. So, you know, I thought that was a really, really cool touch they did. Now, the death scene of the Graysons is, whew, it's intense, man. And I think part of it, because it is a kid's show and they can't show you, so they show you through other people's facial expressions. And what you don't see sometimes is worse because your mind fills in the gaps, and you know, they draw it out. It's really suspenseful. I mean, it's really intense. You know it's coming, but man, it's brilliant work. It's just brilliant, and the facial expressions and the emotions they're able to draw on Dick Grayson's face and Bruce Wayne's face is just phenomenal. And Dick Grayson he's really likable. You know, he's a kid. He's not like written like an adult. He's written like a kid, but he's a likable kid. He's not some kind of snot-nosed brat. And there's this just great, really touching moment where they're at the Graysons' funeral and it's raining and it's just Bruce and Dick, and Bruce is talking to him, and you know, like, Bruce knows what it feels like to have gone through losing your parents, and I mean, it's just really well done. All right, so yeah, the scene at the funeral it's just gut-wrenching, and then it has Bruce Wayne come to court, kind of similar to what we saw in Year 3, but they changed it a little bit. They update it. Instead of Dick Grayson being Bruce's ward, they changed it to foster son. So I guess that's just because, sorry, I said that with my New York accent. How do you say it? Foster? Allison's sitting over there.
What?
How do you say foster?
Like
Foster?
Like
yeah.
TV show Foster.
I say Foster.
You're to New York.
To New York. The Foster. All right. His foster son. And I guess that's because either kids don't know what a ward is, or that's just not a term used anymore. And it kind of reminded me a lot of like what we saw in Year 3, like I said here. So in here, you know, they've changed it. Bruce says he was lucky to have Alfred, unlike Year 3 where they say Bruce was all alone. And then Bruce, you know, he's trying to find Tony Zuko, and he has a bar fight. It's really intense. It's a really action-packed, intense scene, kind of right out of Watchmen. For, you know, a kid's cartoon, it's pretty impressive. And he's hunting down, trying to find Tony Zuko, but Tony Zuko, you know, gets the drop on him and gets Batman hostage. And Tony Zuko gives his origin story, which is different than the comics. Tony Zuko, instead of coming from the orphanage, is actually from, you know, a circus performance background. And the way that Dick Grayson figures out who is, you know, Batman is pretty good, and I'll let you watch that and see that. But you know, he becomes Robin pretty quick and goes and helps out Batman, and it's pretty good. And then the ending, after they've nabbed Tony Zuko, the ending is just awesome. It's just great artwork of Batman and Robin together with the Flying Graysons poster in the background. Fantastic. So, like I said, this is probably my favorite episode from the series. Maybe one of my favorite episodes of all time. Best Dick Grayson origin storytelling. So check it out, and I'll see you next time.